and welcome all the participants to this session. I'm very happy today to have a great panel. For now 3, but we're supposed to have a 4th one that will be coming shortly. We'll have Professor Yaron Ziv. We'll have Lucy Lyons. We have Julia Beer. And we have Kelly McAllister. So I will first ask them to introduce themselves. When we think about education, teaching, there are a lot of possibilities. And I think you'll hear a lot of diversity here today. And that's, I hope, will inspire you in terms of knowing not only the teaching, the practicing, but also how you can get involved in the field of sustainable resource development. So I will start with Professor Yaron, if you want to give a speech and especially explain who you are, what you're doing, but also how you got there and what is your passion related to how to get the students to come in.
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of this amazing forum. I'm an ecologist, biologist by training. My lab, my group works on large-scale ecological patterns and processes of biodiversity. We also involve very much in conservation biology and practices in Israel and outside Israel, internationally. And I was, in addition to the academic responsibilities, I was 5 years as the Green Campus chairperson, and in the last year and a half, I'm heading the new School of Sustainability and Climate Change at Ben-Gurion University, and I guess we would want to talk about it later. Basically, I got into this, I think, when I was young. My father was an agronomist, and I used to go with him and, you know, go to different farms and agricultural fields. So I was very happy with that atmosphere. Later on, as a high school kid, I was a bad pupil. I was really a bad student. I didn't do homework. So I had a lot of time, especially during the weekends, to travel, to go to different beautiful canyons in Israel. And that's also attracted my attention. So, you know, after the army, I joined the Society for Protection of Nature in Israel. And I didn't believe I would be able to get into the university because of the high school experience. But, you know, they made a mistake, and I was admitted to Tel Aviv University, got my first degree, got in love in academia and biology. And from that point, it's a history. Got my second degree at Ben-Gurion University, my PhD at University of Arizona. And the last 24 years, I'm here at Ben-Gurion University, happy every day with what I do.
Wonderful. And probably what excites you to be a professor and to try to bring students to really enjoy and become passionate as well?
Well, I guess it's ideology, because I really think about, I really think that what I do and what we do, I guess I share it with many of the people here. I really believe that what we do is the correct thing. And I'm also selfish because I care about my kids and my grandkids. So I really want other students and teaching too to be part of this agenda. And it is exciting to me. You know, you hear a student comes out with a beautiful question with a lot of, you know, anxiety and happiness and everything. So every day, you know, when it happens, it keeps me there.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be able to discuss a lot of different things today. Thank you very much. Lucy Lyons, you're, in your case, a master's student. So you're on the other side of the fence, and you may be able to talk how you got there and what really motivates you to get there.
Thank you so much, Liette. And yes, it's such a pleasure to be here up with you all. So I've basically spent my admittedly short career in the climate tech space. I was on the early team of the carbon accounting software startup Plan A. They were one of the first software startups on the market out of Berlin, helping enterprises calculate, monitor, and reduce emissions. I fell into that role, but while I was there, I realized that the intersection of business, sustainability, and technology is where I wanted to be for my whole career. So I made the decision to leave and go pursue a master's this past year in sustainability, enterprise, and the environment at the University of Oxford. The program is really looking at how can we harness the powers of business and technology really to solve the net zero problem in a way that's equitable for everyone. It was the first year of the program, so we were kind of like guinea pigs, but it was a really, enriching experience. While I was there, I got the chance to write a dissertation on a topic that's relevant to sustainable resource development. So I looked really at the barriers that procurement teams in heavy industries face in achieving their upstream Scope 3 emissions targets. And I'm super excited because I've recently graduated, but what I get to do now is I'm trying to turn the insights from my dissertation into a new startup actually in this space. So I really want to look at software solutions that can decarbonize heavy industries like manufacturing, like metals, and like mining. And I'm being supported on this journey by a startup accelerator based out of Cambridge, actually called Carbon 13. So it's very early, but for that reason, I'm especially happy to be here.
This is great. And did you expect when you started, like when you were 18 years old, that you would be going that way, starting a bit in enterprise, doing your master, now trying to have your own startup?
So actually not at all. My dad is an entrepreneur. He has a couple of restaurants. And when I was a kid, he always wanted me to go into business. But my mom was much more on kind of the public health side. She'd done some human rights work and had an MPH. And I was way more drawn to her because I felt that she made an impact with her work. I knew that I didn't want to go into health because I was really afraid of the doctor, actually. So I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with regards to social change. But I knew I wanted to work in policy or in NGOs, so I thought. And it really actually wasn't until after university, where I initially studied in my bachelor's urban planning and global studies and a bit of German. I really fell into a job, actually. It was before Plan A. I was in an even smaller startup environment, and I just loved the culture of innovation and creativity, and I loved applying that lens to societal problems. And at the time, I mean, this was only a couple of years ago, I didn't realize you could have a career in climate tech. It wasn't really something that existed. And still, I think a lot of young people don't know it exists. But I've really found, I was actually with a friend today, and she said, you've really like blossomed in this part of your career, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I fell into the right thing, which is really lucky. But I totally feel like I'm on the right track. I hope.
This is great. But no, I think it's great. And what is great also is to show that for especially our audience, that there are many other possible careers that they probably have never thought about. And that's something that is quite important for them too. Great. Thank you very much. Julia, we're colleagues, and I'm glad to see you today. It's your turn. You're on the floor now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Liette, and nice to see you too. Yeah, and really thrilled to be a part of this panel. So I am an associate professor in the Environmental Sustainability Research Center at Brock, and I'm also in the Department of Geography and Tourism Studies, so I kind of have two homes. And I'm also a Canada Research Chair in Human Dimensions of Water Resources and Water Resilience. And so that position affords me the opportunity to focus a lot more on research than a regular faculty position does, which is wonderful, and that's really, I think, my passion. And I would say, in terms of research, a lot of it is water focused. I started in agriculture. I grew up on a farm, and through my teen years, couldn't imagine being on a farm for the rest of my life or doing agricultural work, but you know, with time and maturity, that changed, and my first 2 degrees were actually in the agricultural sciences, and in my master's degree, I was doing some field work on organic agriculture crops, and started to think about the human side of things. Like, we have all of this great research that we're doing. Why aren't people using the research more? And that was one of those questions that just kind of continued to sit with me as I finished my master's, and kind of pushed me towards the social sciences for my PhD. So I consider myself a very applied researcher. I'm interested in addressing real world urgent problems, and my research is oriented towards you know, pathways towards sustainability, solutions oriented research, and I love it. It is really exciting. And you know, Lucy, your comments about innovation and creativity, I think that's exactly how I feel about my job, is that there's lots of room as a researcher, as a professor, for engaging in innovation and creative practice, and it's really exciting. Yeah, so what's exciting, and when thinking about bringing in students, for me, it's all exciting. The work is so important, it's so urgent, and I think, you know, we all feel that urgency, and I hear it from our students too, that, you know, we're looking at a critical time in our history where we can make a real difference, and I just want to support, you know, the next generation to have the sorts of experiences in school that can create that change, whether, you know, no matter where they go on. And for me, it's important work, and it's exciting work. So that's kind of what keeps me motivated day to day.
Great, yeah. Yeah, it's nice to see the students, especially because of the sustainability science program. It helps a lot to see some of them now really working in the industry, in different places too. That's the wonderful part. Great. Kelly McAllister, welcome to the panel. And you are, in your case, a PhD student, but you have also another title, which is to work as a youth coordinator of the Sustainable Development Solution Network. So if you can present yourself, what you're doing, and how you got to really get involved with these kind of organizations.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on the panel. I just want to tell everyone I'm having some pretty significant Wi-Fi problems. So Liette, if I am at any point inaudible, please cut me off and let me know. So far, is everything good? Can you hear me? Okay,
yeah, no problem, Kaylee. We'll take care of you. Don't worry. We'll make sure you're fine. I'll let you know.
Thank you. So my name is Kaylee McAllister, and I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Waterloo. And in addition to the role of a student, I'm also the network coordinator for SDSN Youth in Canada, and I am the chair of the Sustainability Literacy Requirement, or the Sustainability Literacy Initiative at the University of Waterloo. SDSN, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, is a global movement working to embed and encourage academia to move forward on the Sustainable Development Goals, and it's based out of the University of Waterloo here in Canada. SDSN Canada is the network of various organizations and member institutions, which are primarily post-secondary institutions working towards embedding sustainability and the SDGs into academia. I just said SDSN so many times, so I apologize for that. The work that I do that is more relevant to what we're discussing here is actually the work that I do with the sustainability. Oh, my dog is barking. I apologize if you can hear that. Today is such a fun day. My house is just chaotic.
You're doing great.
It always is. At the Sustainability Literacy Initiative, we are a group of students that are trying to encourage the University of Waterloo to implement a sustainability literacy requirement at the University of Waterloo. The best way to explain what a sustainability literacy requirement is really to juxtapose it with a communications requirement. So at all institutions across Canada and most institutions across the world, you need to take at least one communications requirement as part of your undergraduate degree, just to demonstrate that you have sufficient understanding in the language in which your degree is being granted. At the Sustainability Literacy Initiative, we would argue that having a knowledge of sustainability at this point in the climate crisis and in the intersecting crises that we're having around the world is just as important as having that baseline level of communication in your degree. It's super important to help the student succeed in the current professional world that we're seeing ourselves in. And it's very important in advancing the reputation of institutions as leaders in sustainability. I could go on about this all day, and I'm sure I will have an opportunity to chat a little bit more about this as we go on in the next 40 minutes or so, but I think I will limit my remarks there.
But I would like to know, how did you come to decide to be involved like that? Because a lot of undergraduate students say, oh, I don't have time with the courses, and I don't want to get involved in these things.
I always say I am so blessed because I love everything I do. I love sustainability. And for a lot of people, like I go to an engineering school, and a lot of people, they do like their 40 or their 50 hours of schoolwork and they're so exhausted and they don't have energy to do anything else. But I go to school and I love what I study. I go to work and I love working at SDSN Canada. I love what I do. I go to the Sustainability Literacy Initiative, which is a volunteer opportunity for me, and I love the volunteer work I do there. So I don't feel burnt out because I am so blessed to really, truly enjoy what I'm spending my time doing.
Great. Yeah. One thing in common for the four of you, passion. You're all passionate about what you're doing. It's very obvious on what you have been talking. And but how do you believe that we can attract, educate new students in sustainable natural resource development, and especially increase their awareness and the importance that they are part of this movement? So what can be done that you think can be probably useful to really encourage them and to show that there are a lot of possibilities? So I don't know who wants to start.
I can answer if I can try. It's a great question, and I ask myself this question over and over again. I think the first thing is just to make sure that students are aware of how important it is to deal with sustainability these days. We're in a critical point in time. This is the last chance maybe as a human being to take responsibility about what is going to happen in the future. And I think that many young people really want to make the change. They want to be part of it. And if you make them, be part of it, and you make them anxious and enthusiastic about it, understanding the importance of what they're doing, this is one thing that may help. This is at least what we're trying to do here. The second thing, I think, I'm professor of ecology, and I think ecology is a wonderful field. And now, as a sustainability person, I really find new ways to look at the world. Even with my experience, sustainability offers so many interactions, so many new directions as to connect between engineering persons and people that do, solar energy with policy, politics, health. It's so exciting, it's great. So if we can show the students how many opportunities they have and how many interesting ways they can go, I think that will increase their willingness to get into our field, and they will feel that they are actually useful for the future. So these are at least 2 points. I guess there are other ones like practicum and practices and meet other people. There are so many opportunities in this new sustainability approach that provides new ways. And if students understand it, and it's important too.
Any other who wants to intervene on this?
I think it's almost a little bit of a different approach to the question, but I think when most people and most even young people think about sustainability, you know, they're thinking about the things that they can do as consumers. So going vegan, eliminating plastic, increasingly minimizing flying. And I think while all of these actions are super important and all of us should be doing them, not just young people, I feel like we need more young people aware of and engaged in kind of the stuff under the hood, so to speak. So at the end of the day, the transition to net zero is about the transition of resources that sit at the bottom of value chains. And I think often that connection is not made more broadly by people. And that's partly because of the way that the oil lobby works and a lot of other systemic things. But I think it's important to draw that connection for young people and say, you know, even if you're not, you know, you don't identify as an environmentalist, so to speak, you can still apply your skills, especially if you're an engineer or scientist, to transitioning these really difficult industries. Like every job, I think, can be a sustainability job, and you maybe don't even need to study sustainability to apply sustainability in the workplace, and that maybe is tumbling into another question, but I think particularly sustainable resource development, one of the reasons I was so interested in LIAMforum is because I think it's underappreciated, and it's going to be a way more crucial part of the transition, that there's boots on the ground and talent ready to get involved in this kind of stuff that's more difficult.
I agree with you. Yeah, there's a lot more possibilities, and often probably people don't realize it at the beginning. It's really, I've met quite a lot of people, sustainability vice president and all that in different industries that people will not think about it that way. But yeah, there are a lot of other possibilities, and people don't necessarily know about it, especially I think when you start at the university level, for example. Yeah, great. I think, Kelly, you wanted to mention something?
Yes, I would just like, Lucy really alluded to this already, but I would say one of the biggest critiques of academia is that it's so siloed, and sustainability unfortunately can't be siloed. Sustainability applies to everything, and it's very difficult to energize people on intersectional and interdisciplinary issues in this model. Sustainability applies to everyone, whether you're going to become a public school teacher or an engineer at a private firm or work in purchasing and acquisitions at the City of Toronto. It applies to everything you do. And emphasizing that interdisciplinarity of sustainability and how it relates to everyone, no matter what you're doing, what you're studying, what your life looks like, I think is very important.
Yeah, and since I have you, we have a question asking, what is the challenge, in fact, to receive at Waterloo the possibility to adopt the idea of a course on sustainability more broadly?
There are a couple challenges. The largest is really that it's very unprecedented. The only thing, again, that exists like this is the communications requirement, and that's been around, as far as I'm aware, since the dawn of the University of Waterloo. So our governance structure doesn't really work and fit to accommodate top-down curriculum mandates from the president's office.
Yeah, I think it's probably similar in many universities. Unfortunately, often we are, and this is one big question: how do we deal with the silos that we have? Both Julia and I are in different departments and all that, but we're kind of the weird birds sometimes in this situation. How do we deal with that? How do we try to make sure that, and you were mentioning, Lucy, engineers talking to others, and the same, Yaron, how do we deal with this issue of these barriers sometimes that may probably slow us down in terms of enhancing the possibility to talk about sustainability with more people?
Okay, that's exactly was the challenge that we had. The university, Ben-Gurion University, relatively speaking, was very strong in environmental sciences for many years. Now, many years, we're already only 55 years old, okay? So let's You know, we're a young university. We don't have the old history of many other universities, but it was established to deal with the challenges in the desert. So naturally, you know, the natural sciences like soil, water, air, agriculture were strong. And with the years, more and more disciplines joined politics, policy, health, engineering, and so on to deal with these issues. But at the same time, exactly like you say, Liette, many of us felt that we're not communicating because of these silos, because of this territoriality. And this is something that is very characteristic to most of the universities in the world. You know, it happens that I talk to one of my colleagues and she tells me about the research that she does. And I say, you know that in the other faculty, other department, someone does something very similar. And she says, I don't know these guys. And this bothered us. And because we wanted to move towards sustainability, about 2 years ago, there was this forum at the university for the strategic plan of the university. And we established this School of Sustainability and Climate Change, exactly to break this territoriality. So the school, it's a university-wide inter-faculty. It's just under the rector, or what you call the provost in Northern America, right? So it's under the rector, and it covers the entire university. We don't have our own positions. The positions are held under, you know, the original organization of the universities within the departments and the faculties. However, faculty members apply to be part of the school, and they're affiliated with the school. We have more than 160 faculty members from all faculties, including health and natural sciences and engineering and so on. And once they are affiliated with the school and they are very, very passionate about it, they get into committees. On all the committees, there are representatives of all disciplines, and the new calls for research, for scholarships for students, impact activities in the community, they must be integrated and interdisciplinary. So we don't do more of the same. So for example, if we advertise a new research call, there must be at least 2 or 3 researchers from different disciplines coming with a new, creative, multidisciplinary question. And once we do that, it's amazing. People start talking to each other, and people start knowing each other, and you see new grants and new money coming into the university because they start with something which is creative, and other people like it too. So it actually fuels everything, and this is because of the new structure that covers the entire university and allows faculty members to communicate, including, by the way, also graduate students, and now we have new degrees of undergraduates that will allow connect between different disciplines. So that's the idea, that's how we moved on.
Great, great. So Julia, do you want to talk a little bit about ESRC?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And I'd also love to hear Lucy and Kaylee's thoughts on this, because I think, you know, the youngest, relatively youngest voices in this panel are probably going to be the ones that those who are listening to this conference identify with most closely. So I want to make sure that there's lots of time for you two to respond to. I'll just briefly mention that our the Environmental Sustainability Research Center is kind of a separate research center that brings together faculty from a whole bunch of different departments, and we come together around this shared interest in environmental sustainability, and we bring broad perspectives to it. And I think that's, you know, that's one way to try to reduce that kind of siloed approach that is so common in academia. And the other part of the research center, and this is specifically about students and the programming that we provide for students, that I think is really important, and I think, I mean, the feedback has been that it's really valuable to students, is that we integrate a lot of what we call like transdisciplinary approaches into the program itself. So the coursework and also the type of research opportunities that students get, you know, at the master's and PhD level. So by transdisciplinary, I mean that you're working with non-academic organizations or agencies and with researchers to try to address, you know, real world problems that these these organizations are facing in the moment. And so, you know, it's an opportunity to connect the theory that you're learning to something that's actually happening in the real world, and to make an impact. You know, before you're done your degree, you're already doing something that has a direct impact on that organization and, you know, some sort of sustainability problem that they've identified. And I think that's the, you know, it's a really nice model for educating young people. Well, anybody. I mean, I guess you don't have to be young to be a graduate student. But yeah, I think you know, it's again connecting to the urgent problems that we're seeing out in the world and feeling like you're contributing to solutions because you are. And so you know, that's, I think, some of the ways that we're trying to engage and excite students and also break down the silos.
Great, yeah, thank you. I don't know if Lucy or Kelly, you want to add something about the silos and how you felt around that.
Yeah, I think I know, Kaylee, you were initially saying that you were echoing what I was saying, but what you said really resonated with me about sustainability not being almost a subject in and of itself, and we need a reconceptualization of sustainability as a component of every job. And I feel like at the academic level, that's also what we need. It's almost like we do need more schools of climate change, and I think actually as a discipline it should stay, you know, especially the scientific piece, it should stay as its own. But generally, I feel like we need institutes at universities whose sole function is to allocate sustainability education to each department individually and coordinate how that's all working together. Because also at my university, I experienced, you know, I spent a lot of time with everyone working on environmental policy and sustainable finance. But I spent very little time with people working on biology and ecology, and that's, you know, just as important. And of course, it can't all be under the same roof, but there needs to be a coordinating body, I think, in every larger institution that's fitting the pieces together and ensuring that we're all meeting each other. And then that's true, of course, for broader partnerships and coalitions organizing minds in sustainability like this forum. But I think generally in institutions, I see the silos are crazy. There's someone interested in sustainability in every chemistry department, every materials science department, every sociology department, every urban planning department. And they should all know each other and be able to work on problems together, because none of them are going to solve anything on their own. Particularly, you know, in the startup world, it's always about commercial people meeting engineers. And there are spaces where we can do that. But I was really taken aback by the fact that at Oxford, I wasn't really given space to do that. Like, of course, you can go to the Climate Action Club, but that's more students looking to make an action, do real activism on the ground, which is amazing. But it's not the forum where you're going to meet someone who's going to build a business with you. And, you know, that's not everyone's goal, but we need to create that sort of synergy naturally in institutions.
Yeah, I agree. Kelly, do you have something that you want to add?
Yes, I just have a few concluding thoughts. In terms of silos, I remember in my first year of university, I'm very blessed to be in a very interdisciplinary program that has a very strong focus on systems thinking. And I remember taking an elective course outside of my faculty and thinking, oh, wow, like we really, instead of going like this and teaching students with a broad base, we go like this. And we do elementary education, then high school, and then secondary education. By the time you're doing your undergrad, or your PhD or your master's or your college diploma, you're just learning a tiny slice of that triangle and you're becoming a specialist. And that does have a lot of value, but it was definitely a culture shock for me, learning that everyone doesn't apply system thinking lens to their academia. Just the only other perspective I can apply, I know that this forum, we're largely focusing on biophysical and environmental aspects of sustainability, but at SDSN, where we focus on more like economic and social aspects of sustainability as well, I can definitely affirm that the lack or the silos and the lack of systems thinking and interdisciplinarity in academia definitely has big effects there as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the big challenge that very few universities probably across the world have really embedded in their system thinkings and all these components, and it makes it sometimes difficult to hear about the possibility of connection between different faculties and all that. Yeah. That's always a bit of a challenge. I should say that we were trying at Brock to have an SDG course, and unfortunately, I was supposed to be chairing that group. We were supposed to get a representative of all the faculty, and we never got there yet. So hopefully, now that we're a little bit more in person, the pandemic is gone. Gone in terms of its endemic for the rest of our life, but at least we know that we're more in person. I'm hoping that we can restart a lot of these things, because that's quite important to start talking about it. How do we do it at the university wide? Because I think this is the main thing. There's really a need to start having people talking, and I really like. Yaron, when you were talking about that, each project has to have a minimum of 2 different disciplines, and it's interesting because our biology seminar today was given by a chemist, a new faculty in chemistry, who is using microbial system, and so suddenly, several of us in the Department of Biology are starting to work with him. And but if we didn't have the possibility of meeting him, we would not have known him. That's the thing. And there's a question sometime of how do we try to have these connections to make sure that we're connecting also the students possibly to new opportunities.
Yeah, Liette, I agree with you. This is a challenge, and basically, I think that the academic world is quite conservative, and that's the problem. People live with their own, silo and territorial area, and they don't want to see other fields. There is politics too, positions, resources, and so on. You know it quite well. And that definitely doesn't help with reorganizing the university. We got lucky because, we have a new, he's not new anymore, but he was a new president when we started this process, and he was in favor of that. So he took the entire administration, the management, and we followed and were able to do that. So we succeeded with this regard. And I would like also to comment or to add to what Lucy said, and I agree 100%. Sustainability is not a single discipline, belong to a single discipline. It belongs to any discipline in the academic world, actually anywhere. So if there is a chemistry student or a biology student or a policy or management or economic student, they all can join the sustainability world. And the way we now try to deal with it is that we're going to have new undergraduate degrees, BSc and BA in sustainability, but it is going to be a dual degree. In other words, every student who wants to move with a bachelor's degree in sustainability will have to take sustainability and another degree. So it's a dual one. So it can be chemistry and sustainability. Hebrew literature and sustainability, politics and sustainability. It depends where your heart is, and it depends what you want to do. Some people are more analytical, some other ones are more, into the humanities. But you allow these guys to take what they want and also to follow the conservative way, one degree, and then have sustainability as an added value that can fit in. And in the sustainability program, they are going to get all, flavors, from different disciplines. And by doing that, I hope we'll be able to find a good compromise to the challenges that we have to face with.
Would the panel mind discussing, collaborations between schools, for example, Brock and Ben-Gurion and Oxford, how possible and how could we further these advancements between the schools? Because it seems that there's, common ground among many of the schools and not just those three globally.
So maybe I can just add a very quick comment on that. I think that there has been some collaboration between Brock and other institutions in the past. I'm not aware of all of them, but I know that our center has had kind of an arrangement with the University of the Sunshine Coast in Australia, for example, where a student could spend part of their time here and part of their time there and benefit from both programs. And I think those sorts of arrangements are really valuable. I'm also part of a research network called ResNet. And as part of that research network, we have opportunities for graduate students and postdocs to do short stays at other institutions across Canada. And I think, again, those sorts of opportunities, when you have the funding for them, are wonderful for student development and just increasing the diversity of perspectives that they get on, on a topic that's interesting to them. So, yeah.
I can share with you that we have some collaborations, but it all depends on the resources. It's always the resources. And so the president of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem and our president, we said, and with people responsible on the sustainability school and center, we sat together and we established a new collaboration between the two universities because the two presidents committed. I mean, we have some new collaboration with Arizona State University, actually with Concordia University in Canada and so on. But again, it depends on the resources. If you have a good, donor that puts a lot of money and force the two universities to talk, sustainability is definitely a common, subject to go around, and it's a great opportunity. I think, and this is what I see in Israel, the foundations, the funds, it can be NSF, it can be the EU, and other ones are more and more in favor of collaborations on the ground of sustainability. So my guess is that in 2, 3, 5, 10 years, we are going to see many more collaborations between academic institutions because the foundations will force us to talk with each other, which is always good to talk with each other.
Yeah. I think in many cases also it's a question that we are at the mercy of the funding agencies and the program that they have. I currently have a New Frontiers in Canada, and so I have people from the Stockholm Biodiversity Center, from a university in Costa Rica, McGill University, and all that. But two things is the opportunities, the resources, as you said. And I think that's for everybody. But also, I think it's a question that it becomes almost like a person. It's person by person. Because we have, I cannot remember, at one point I was talking to the international office, and I cannot remember the number of agreements that we have with so many universities but it's often person to person agreements most of the time. So it becomes a bit complicated to even do an inventory of all that.
I mean, even I can echo that because I help navigate the MOUs, as they're called, memorandums of understanding between FMSs, has quite a number of wonderful ones. So yeah, it is a challenge. There's also this question related to what you were speaking about earlier, panel, that specifically with these engineering programs that are historically crowded, there's not a lot of room. They're packed full of great courses. How do you see fitting in these new courses? Does it require an entire rework of the system? You know, is there room to add these sustainable programs? Or would that require more of a change than maybe sounds easy on the surface?
I don't know if anyone wants to tackle this one. I think it's important for Brock because we have a new program in engineering that will break a bit some of the barriers. But I think these questions will come up even for ourselves. So, Lucy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think this goes back to the theme of sustainability being something that needs to be integrated into things that exist. So it might not even be about adding new courses. Of course, it's brilliant to add new courses about sustainability, and we should do that if we have space. It's probably the most urgent thing that should be added, in my biased opinion. But I think it's more about how can we add modules to each central degree around sustainability and how to integrate sustainability into that practice. So if you're studying procurement and supply chain management, how can you make sure that there's a module on sustainable purchasing and the barriers that you're going to face when you try to implement a sustainable purchasing initiative in a company, and what you should do if that becomes a reality. And that just takes, you know, one professor who's interested in the subject to introduce the module in the department. So I think also a big barrier is that a lot of professionals and a lot of even professors that I've seen feel like it's not their subject matter, so they don't know anything about it. And the thing is it's such a new space. You know, there's not that, I mean, there's literature obviously that's been written about all of this stuff, and we should pay homage to that. But you know, if some of it is intuitive and you can, you know, watch videos about it and read a couple of papers and learn as much as you would need to pass on to a group of students in a single lecture or a module. And I feel like professors should take that leap and even say to the students, you know, this is really new stuff, but I just want you guys to know that this is going to be a huge part of whatever you do in this job function. And you need to just be aware of how it's going to affect it. So that way you get everyone thinking about it. And the key is not to have a bunch of really smart sustainability people, a couple of them studying in a great master's degree and then sprinkling them across industry. It's to have every single person working in the economy aware of this and knowing the basics, because that's truly the only way anything's going to change. It doesn't matter how persuasive or influential or smart a single person is. It's a mindset.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's really a mindset. It's to try to change that and to really, I like the idea, you know, kind of injecting in each course this mentality, this spirit of sustainability, and that would help quite a lot. In some way, I'm pretty sure that it's happening already with the sustainability program that you have, Yaron. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I think we could have talked for another hour without problem, especially there are the other questions. But if you want anybody in the audience, never hesitate to connect with any of us that you have seen during the forum. All of us you have our links and all that. And you can always contact anybody. I'm pretty sure everybody will be very happy, in fact, to start discussing with many of you. So, because it's a learning for us, it's lifelong learning in some way when we think about sustainability, and everybody can be part of it. So I would like to thank you very much as a panelist. We're all great, and I'm sure that a lot of the messages that were discussed today have probably resonated very well with the audience. Thank you very much.